Hi, I'm PC Peri. Welcome back to part 2 of the 17th Busiversary. Flying Focus Video Collective's annual retrospective of its weekly series here on Portland Community Media. As you may have seen in part 1, we place our high value on content, not style. Our shows may not look like slick corporate TV, but we're sharing information you won't see, supported by commercial interests. We're activists using video as a tool for social change and voicing the voiceless.
Our founding members picked up camcorders in 1991 and started taping lectures, forums, protests, and other content regarding peace and justice issues. Over 100 people have worked with us producing programs over the years, and you can do it too. Grab a pen and some paper to write down our contact information, which you can see right now on your screen, and it'll come up a few more times during the show.
If you like what you see, be sure to contact your cable company and the powers that be to keep access on the air. In 2008, a Southern California public access station folded because the city government ceased to fund them. The laws require the cable company to put access channels on, but they would love to open the stations up to commercial programming. Make sure you don't let this happen.
Yeah, so now join us again as our producers introduce clips of shows that they produced between November 2007 and October of 2008. Thanks for watching.
And we're here with Dave Hall, who's going to tell us what we worked on together in 2007.
First, I'd like to thank Flying Focus for helping to put this on the air, your work as videographer, well done, and Caleb Heyman for his work as editor. The piece that we produced features the voice of Roberta Connor, Executive Director of the Temescal Cultural Institute and recipient of the 2000 Award for Indigenous Leadership, award hosted by EcoTrust. The interview with Connor was one of a series that I conducted with contemporary Native leaders on the subject of sustainability. Details and results of that work can be found at nativeperspectives.net. So in the program that we aired, Connor shares her thinking on the subject of sustainability. She's articulate and really elegantly speaks to the value and importance of Native knowledge and Native cultures. And the clip we're airing tonight is a nice example of her call for mutual stewardship. I hope you enjoy.
It's not a belief. Our people know that we were given this place to live a very long time ago. So long ago that it's usually unfathomable by other people. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And as a consequence, when we talk about the future and when we talk about restoring landscapes or species, or we talk about how we should live together in the future or work on things together of mutual concern, we're not just talking about Indian people. While we are trying to take care of and promote the health and well-being of our own people, when we put water in the river, everybody benefits. All of the species, Indian and non-Indian. And I think it's important for people to realize that this is a shared responsibility now. We may have been given the gift of this homeland thousands and thousands of years ago. We may know more about it than people give us credit for. We may expect less of it and expect ourselves to be more thankful for it than other people. But now, today, there's got to be a recognition that this is our mutual inheritance. The problems and the gifts are a mutually inherited set for Indian and non-Indian people. We're not going to solve these problems alone, and we're not going to solve them for ourselves. We're going to solve them for not just humanity, but we're going to solve them because it's, or resolve or promote or improve them because it's the right thing to do. It's not because there's an economic bottom line that necessarily benefits, although that will be true at some point. It's because to do otherwise is to be in violation of natural law, natural order, and natural balance.
I'm here with Barb, a longtime volunteer with Flying Focus. How many years?
13 now.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And we worked on this Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
edit?
This is a kind of show that got me involved and made me want to continue with Flying Focus. It's about there's a woman in town, Lisa Shannon, who has started an annual run for Congo women. And in the first clip, her mother's talking about some of the conditions over there, which are absolutely horrendous. I mean, the women have been gang raped and they have limbs lopped off and they see their children die. It's just a horrendous situation. So they do this annual benefit for the women of the Congo, and there's some women there who actually are from the Congo who speak briefly in this clip. They speak longer in the program. And I was so inspired by Lisa Shannon's work that I sponsor a woman in the Congo now.
There's a Holocaust going on. It's been going on for almost 10 years. More than 4 million people had died as of April 2004. And 1,250 people a day die. 45% of those are children under the age of 5. And so these women have been brutally, savagely gang raped, a lot of them. Hundreds of thousands of women have been gang raped. Many women are forced. They know when they go out to work their fields in order to feed their families that they will be raped that day, but they must go out and feed their families. So our program supports women in healing from their trauma, gives them a modicum, a $10 a month cash supplement to help support their families. $5 a month goes towards seed money to start a small business. And they receive women's support groups. They receive literacy training, business skills training, so that they can start a business and have a future for themselves and their children.
We need this, and we are getting support. People like from Canada here to support my people. It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you.
We are so happy that all the people see our misery and they volunteer to help us because we are the most ignored people. Our government forgot about us, and the most people in the world don't even think about us. So we are so happy to see that there are still people who consider us and they take the time to come and support this cause. So this money is going to the right place to help our sisters.
All the bad things are happening. Sorry about my English, but I'm so happy for what you are doing for us. It's overwhelming. I just want to cry. Thank you so much.
I taped a program on Sweet Crude, which was a production that Barb edited. What was that about, Barb?
This is the Seattle-based director talking about her movie Sweet Crude,
right,
which is about oil from the Niger Delta, which is where we get a lot of our oil, with unfortunately some very deleterious effects on the local population. And she did a really great job and then showed it here. And so the program we did is her talking about her experience of creating this film.
And luckily she's back now, though she was detained.
That's right. She was detained by the government for a while. Pretty scary. Yeah.
There's a 3-point plan of what created what people there view as the necessity of violence. And it's essentially, really the first blow was Ken Saro-Wiwa. In 1995, to give you context, imagine Nelson Mandela had just become president of South Africa, and there was a lot of hope that Nigeria was going in the same direction because of the nonviolent movement. And Ken Saro-Wiwa. When he was executed, not only were the hopes, in many ways, of that nonviolent solution executed along with him, so was really any American media coverage to speak of. So there was really a 3-part necessity of violence formula. Number 1, Ken Saro-Wiwa was killed. Number 2, there was a resurgence of a nonviolent student movement in 1999, and they were attempting, through the Cayuse Declaration, to bring about some media coverage, etc. It was like Bloody Sunday, if anyone here is familiar with Northern Ireland. The Cayuse Declaration is the Bloody Sunday of Nigeria, because unarmed people just asking for the most reasonable demands, by the way, to be paid 25% of the oil derivation. 25% of the profit that comes out from underneath your feet, right? Kind of reasonable. Sort of taxation without representation kinds of issues, very reasonable. They were mowed down by the federal troops. So that was number 2. Number 3 was when these women who had just had it paddled these canoes that you've now seen, these really modest wooden canoes, right up to oil platforms, climbed on, and some of them took their shirts off, which is culturally an extremely big deal in Nigeria. The security of the oil companies had been trained to deal with howitzers and anti-aircraft guns, but they hadn't been trained to deal with women taking their shirts off. So they freaked out, and many of them just abandoned the oil platforms. Seriously, they just left. So these women are sitting up on these oil platforms, all of which stopped producing oil because this women's breasts showing. It's breasts. I can't get the oil. I have to go home. That said, it was very promising for a moment there in the 11-day siege, and then at the end of the day, as they say in Nigeria, the federal troops came in and in some cases beat women to the point of some of them being paralyzed.
So I'm back now with Yvonne Simmons this time. And Yvonne, you've been with Flying Focus since the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really long time. And so tell me a little bit about what's this program that's coming up next?
Oh, it's Women's International League for Peace and Freedom's Congress, International Congress that was in Santa Cruz, Bolivia. And the first clips are of women from different sections in Central and South America, indigenous people talking about WILPF or talking about the problems that they have there.
All right.
And also Regina Bertram, who was then the international president of WILPF, is also speaking.
Where's she from?
She's from Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
El mundo entero quiere la paz y la libertad. Pero también es pertinente recoger de años anteriores.
The whole world is looking for peace and freedom. It is also important to pick up experiences from previous years to make the changes that have emerged.
Y yo aquí he venido a buscar la unidad. No podemos estar divididos.
In the struggle in solidarity among women and the young people, we cannot be discriminated. We have to end racism and unite together. We have to give an example. On your hand you have small, medium and large size fingers. When you lose one finger you can't work. When all the fingers are there you can. All together we have to struggle for freedom and peace and equality.
Primero quiero decir que cuando escuchaba a las hermanas bolivianas sentía mucho en común con lo que pasa en nuestro país. Latinoamérica realmente es una gran nación que lamentablemente hace más de 500 años.
First of all, I would like to say that when I listened to the Bolivian sisters, I felt something common to my country, Peru. Latin America is a big nation that has unfortunately been divided for more than 500 years.
The period we're living in now is even worse. It's far more dangerous than any time in history. The leading crisis is in the Middle East. The current political, economic, and ecological variables have no precedent in any historical pattern. We don't have a model to follow how to deal with these things. The present weaponry now available and killing power constantly researched and being developed further is beyond any time in history.
So I'm Dan Handelman, and now I'm here with Yvonne because we worked on a show together about Earth Day and earthquake in Peru, and we have a visitor from Peru here today.
This is Cholito that I brought back nearly 3 years ago now. He was born in a hole in the ground, had been injured and full of lice and fleas.
So what?
And now he's healthy.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the show?
The show is in two areas. It's in the south where the earthquake was in last year, and also in Caraballo. In one community they'd lost all their houses, and and I worked with the kids, and we took aid and everything. And the other was in Caraballo on Earth Day at Sol Naciente, where the kids had a parade all through the streets. It's not streets, through the dusty, hilly area, and also in Las Lomas.
Earth Day parade begins, and here the children are walking through the streets of Sol Naciente. The Tai Chi professor is now working with the elderly, which is a good exercise and good for the thinking. It's good that they're doing something other than sitting around. It was very sad to think that this was a vibrant little village and the earthquake just totally destroyed it. The earthquake happened in August of 2007. Every time I went there, the kids and parents were so focused on anything we were doing. They all joined in as families. It was really nice. Sterilization of dogs. The dogs had to be carried out, and some of them had to go way up on the mountain. And one girl had to go and get her sister to help her take the dog home.
Hi, my name is Jeff Bugbee, and I've been with Flying Focus Video Collective for a couple years off and on. And I've put together my first show called Corporate Media Confidential, which was a panel from the National Conference for Media Reform, which was hosted in Minneapolis in June of 2008. The panel was of former corporate media insiders discussing what they learned while working within the biggest media companies. Panelists take a critical look at the challenges of getting big media to cover issues that matter.
The crisis for big mainstream media was simple. Do we practice journalism? Do we foster debate? Do we challenge these claims, even if it's a little uncomfortable for us, before the bombs start falling? Or do we do something far less than journalism? We know what the answer is. Most in the major U.S. media failed us miserably. I was also senior producer on the Phil Donahue primetime show on MSNBC. And as the journalistic crisis mounted, the bosses at NBC, MSNBC, GE simply yanked the show off the air 3 weeks before the invasion, when it was the most watched program on the channel. Donahue producers were repeatedly ordered by top management to book panels using a quota system favoring the pro-invasion side. It was a weird form of affirmative action for hawks. I watched a fellow producer get chewed out for booking a 50-50 balanced panel. You learn at such times, if you're a working journalist, that the worst thing you could do is anything that could get you or your channel accused of liberal bias, or the synonym at that time, un-Americanism. We believe that you can learn more about an institution during a moment of crisis than you could by studying that same institution for years during stable times. I watch cable news every day, so you don't have to.
I thought, moving into journalism, that I wasn't leaving the law. I was simply moving from a single courtroom to a different audience to pursue justice and to pursue the big issues. So there was with some naivete that I entered CNN. Well, I joined a corporate news organization that promised me as I went into 2020 that you would do hard news, international stories. That had been my focus at CNN. I walk into 2020, and I think my first piece was on fat sculpting. You know, here's a story about dumping toxic waste on the Indian reservations or Rocky Flats. I actually put this amazing piece together on Rocky Flats, and it got killed. You know, and story after story of the hard-hitting things that I thought were so important. And he'd finally go, World News, Nightline, World News, no, not here. So I left 2020 and went over to World News. I was very concerned, coming from the world of crime and justice, that our drug war was costing us billions and billions of dollars and locking up an awful lot of nonviolent individuals for the rest of their lives. And no one was telling the real story behind it. It took me almost a year to get permission to do the special. Then by the time we put it together, it was an all-out fight, literally until the night it aired, to get it on the air.
Oh, hi, I'm Dan again. This last clip is from an event I videotaped and edited about the horrors of nuclear weapons. We featured the Physicians for Social Responsibility's annual Hiroshima Day event on our program quite a few times, but the variety of speakers and musicians always changes, and the message never gets less urgent. This year's speakers that you will see included Mikio Oguchi, a Japanese-American man who relates his personal connection to Hiroshima Day, and Pamela Vergun, who edited a book based on the memoirs of a woman who lived through the bombing in 1945. The first clip, though, is the exciting drumming by the Portland Taiko drummers, who took their traditional drumming from the Japanese culture and are always a pleasure to watch.
First, I would like to mention a personal reason why I'm here. 5 years ago, I visited my uncle's family in Japan. His name is Taketo. After the dinner, Uncle Taketo suddenly started to talk about how he witnessed the Nagasaki bombing from a nearby city when he was 14 years old. We were all dumbstruck by his talk. He talked about the blue light, the tremendous boom, the mushroom cloud slowly rising over the mountain ridge, hundreds of wounded people transported from Nagasaki next day for medical treatment. Most of them didn't live.
Many people worry about the risks from other governments and from terrorists. And that's part of the problem, but even the U.S. government can make dangerous mistakes. For example, it was recently reported that parts of Minuteman nuclear warheads were accidentally shipped by the U.S. to another country, to the wrong country. And this mistake was not caught for several months. Even in the country that many Americans regard as the safest nuclear power, we cannot take for granted that the materials used for nuclear weapons and the weapons themselves are being adequately safeguarded. That's why I see this book and Okuda's story more in terms of today's policy than yesterday's history. The overall message of the book is this: take into your hearts the details of what happened. Set aside the natural desires to affix blame and to look away, and believe that you can make a difference in the outcome of the world.
That about wraps it up for the 17th Busiversary. I'm PC Peri with Flying Focus Video Collective, and we hope you enjoyed the information and maybe a little bit of the entertainment and inspiration from watching the clips and hearing from our volunteers and producers.
If you want to work with Flying Focus or support us in any way, give us a call at 503-239-7456 or 503-321-5051. I know you still have your pen from before when I told you to get one. You can also write to us at ffvc@flyingfocus.org.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in every week, this time slot, for the Flying Focus Video Bus.